Welcome to another edition of Tapatan sa Aristocrat. You see, we're a bit crowded and we'd like to acknowledge everyone who came over to join us today. Isang magandang paksa ang ating pag-uusapan, may kinalaman sa ano na nangyayari. Ito bang trahedya nating kinakaharap panghabang panahon na ba? Makakaangat pa ba ang ating mga kababayan sa kanilang karanasan mula sa Zamboanga hanggang sa Tacloban at iba pa? Ngayong araw na ito, we have with us, sabi nga napaka-special nito sapagkat sabi ng mga kasama ko sa FOCAP, bihirang ma-interview si Mayor Beng Climaco. At ngayon, narito siya, kasama natin. Narito rin po naman si Major General Lysander Suerte. Siya po ang Deputy Chief of Staff ng Civil Military Operations ng Armed Forces of the Philippines. At si Roderic Salve, Manager ng Disaster Management Services ng Philippine Red Cross. Pasisimulan natin ang ating talakayan ngayong umaga with a brief presentation from the Mayor of Zamboanga on what's going on in Zamboanga, because Zamboanga is said to be a beautiful city where there's peace and quiet. Tapos ngayon mayroong trahedya tayong kinakaharap. Mayor, please do the honors.
Buenos días, Melo, General Suerte, Roderic. Queridos miembros de prensa, buenos días a todos. Quiero kita también hablar, bienvenidos con Paula Strong. Dios quiera, she will be our first Peace Corps Revival Edition. Y también el jefe del Zamboanga City Freeport Ecozone Chairperson Christopher Lawrence S. Arnuco. We come here bringing the wishes and dreams of the people of Zamboanga that has been devastated in the years previous to that. But today is also a very special day because at around 12 noon of June 30th, 2013, I took my oath serving my first term with God's grace with a magnitude number of mandate by the people of Zamboanga. So Zamboanga City, as you have visited, and I'd like to invite you to visit us, has gone through a crisis, and that was called the Zamboanga crisis, and eventually the humanitarian organizations termed it as a humanitarian crisis. Take note that unlike all the other crises that have happened in the country, this is the only man-made crisis. As a result of the 1996 non-implementation of the peace accord, thus the MNLF waged war against the government using Zamboanga City and making the people its victims. The priorities of my administration has really been security, health, and education. Coming from the Sangguniang itself, I started as a member of the Sanggunian. The vice mayor eventually represented the First District of Zamboanga and the Deputy Speaker of the 14th Congress. When we had the crisis, Secretary Dinky Soliman asked me, Beng, you have to prepare the rehabilitation plan. At ang hiningi ko po sa Mindanao Development Authority through the UNDP, bigyan ako ng organization, a model of which we already have the cluster committees. These cluster committees has really guided us through the crisis, and this is a proposal that we would like to share with other local government units to respond to natural disasters and man-made crisis as well. Eventually, using this particular model, nakikita po natin ang iba't ibang sangay na meron po kaming rehabilitation, security, even the communications team and other key prevention models. Sa total na natanggap po ng pamalaang lokal, it's around 29.4 million pesos. We have a 2.4 billion pesos budget as a local highly urbanized city of 98 barangays and 1,450 square kilometers with a very huge area in terms of land area. Even if you combine po the greater Metro Manila area, hindi mo pa rin maipapasok yan sa Zamboanga. Napakalawak po ng Zamboanga City. So, ang priority po namin ngayon is to really give decent and durable housing for those that have been affected. That is really our primary objective and our aim to give them dignified living. If you look at our next chart, we see the amounts of people in transitory sites, and the total number of individuals as of June 22 is around 25,550 still displaced individuals. Very recently, the UN team came and did an evaluation, and I call it the begging mission. Bakit po? Kasi nakikita natin, even if Zamboanga City is a highly urbanized city, kami po ay nangangailangan sa pang-araw-araw naming mga kailangan ng aming mga IDPs. At kami po ay nagpapasalamat sa pamalaang Kino at ang national and international donor communities, pati na pong Red Cross na bumili po talaga ng sariling water tanker nila at ito po ay nagagamit sa mga evacuation centers natin. So bumisita po si Secretary Dinky Soliman. She is the longest staying secretary that has been there at the time when the siege precipitated, and she has been going back together with the other cabinet secretaries to check on our accomplishments. So if you look at the interventions that we've had, we've created ang pinakamalaki pong evacuation namin center is the Joaquin Enriquez Memorial Sports Complex. Kung dito po lamang nakikita natin, there are 13,000 individuals. At the height of crisis, siguro umabot ng around 20,000 individuals ito, more than the number allocated. Because this is a grandstand, what we fear is that the population explosion in that area, the capacity for sanitation would lead to other diseases. That is why we're doing everything to provide for the purchase of permanent housing. And we would like to state from the very start, our administration has been very culturally sensitive. Ibig sabihin po, because Zamboanga City is very diverse, we have the Christians, Muslims, and Lumads, and even within the different Muslim groups, we have the Samal Dilaut, Samal Bangingi, Tausug, Yakan, all together, and yet they have their distinct agrupations. To be cultural sensitive is to bring the Bajaus closer to the sea because that is where they find their spirit. And we have really made all the efforts to purchase properties that are culturally sensitive and temporary shelters that are conducive to them. Ito pong isang salt bed, Masepla temporary shelter na nailagay namin yung mga Bajau at nakikita po namin na mas maaliwalas ang kanilang mga pamumuhay compared to staying in the Artilim Boulevard shorelines. Ito po was given by the Tsuchi Foundation. Ito pong next slide where we can see the schools that have been provided for by the Taiwan Tsuchi Foundation. This was also used in Tacloban at this serves the number of schools that need temporary schools. It is ventilated and this is oval shape at nakikita po natin ang design is really for resiliency. If you look at the houses that have been built in the temporary shelters by the IOM, the Philippine Army Engineering Battalion, and the DSWD. So nakikita po natin ang puwersa ng militar na tumutulong po rin sa ating mga pabahay. At ang next slide po ay pinapakita po namin ang aming in terms of the schools, what our function is. Because really, iniiwasan na po namin to put our evacuees in the schools. And despite of that, we cannot prevent other disasters from happening. Thus, education sector is a concern to make sure that our children are not educationally displaced. We were able to successfully have graduations in areas of conflict in Rio Hondo and then some transitory school sites for them. In terms of this support given to the health sector, the Department of Health, through Secretary Ona yesterday, has just reported to me a model of Brunei, wherein housing units for displaced individuals can be put closer to the sea, but resilient, friendly housing. So we conduct consultations with the people, trying to reach out to them in the different languages that we have. Ito pong Z3R plan of Zamboanga City is really a roadmap set by President Benigno Aquino, and its time frame is 18 months from January of the previous years to June 2015. The NHA is on the helm of giving 30,000 home materials assistance for displaced individuals, and we have started distributing them as well. And the situation also, as of June 25, we have started ongoing housing units, and we hope that by September 9, we will already build temporary and permanent shelters. This is a model of the loftable units that will be built by the NHA as a permanent shelter of people that have been displaced. I'd like you to take note of the topography, the cultural topography of Zamboanga City. Ang population namin is already 900,000 more or less of number of individuals. But these are the people, ilan ba talagang natibong Zamboangueño, Muslim, Christian, and Lumads? They come from Basilan, Sulu, and Tawi-Tawi, and they have fled from the conflicts in those areas. Sad to say that in 2013, nagkaroon din ng conflict. Some of them were victims also of the houses that have been burned. So siguro kung nakikita natin in triplicate, they have been triplicately displaced as well. So the City Planning Office, together with the national government agencies, the USAID, that's why Ms. Paula Strong is here, who will help us also in the rehabilitation program. We are very, very concerned about another aspect, and that is what we call the Healing and Confidence Building Cluster. Very recently, last Friday, we took an oath as our Interfaith Council of Leaders, kasi today, starting yesterday, we start the fasting, the holy month of Ramadan. And so, being a man-made disaster, we have to continue reaching out to our Muslim and Lumad brothers and the Christian community as well. When you talk about the peace process, it is a lifelong process, and you do not end it just because Miswari or the other party has snubbed you. We cannot say that he is a spent force. Those people who have branded him as a spent force, really, literally, we are spending for the force that he sent to the city of Zamboanga, because up to this very moment, there are people that are displaced. But out of the crisis, we have people, and these are the Samal Dilaut children. To my left is a girl that I have met way back when I was still a vice mayor. And it is for these children that we want to build back a better Zamboanga. Because sila po ang mga tribong Samal Dilaut, nakatira po sila sa dagat. At I want to assure them that we will be giving them housing units that are closer to where they come from, because that is their lifeblood. The sea to them is home, and we want to build them resilient housing. Thus, I'd like to thank each and every one of you. And please, you are invited to visit us to build back a better Zamboanga. Muchas gracias, y vaya con Dios.
Thank you. Parang hindi na ako magtatanong eh. Nandun na lahat eh. Pero anyway, tuloy ang discussion sapagkat merong keywords na binanggit pang hashtag eh. Miswari, spent force, at iba pa. Di ba? Babantayan natin yan. Sa Red Cross, can you give us a bird's eye view of what Red Cross found dun sa Tacloban, Samar Leyte area at iba pang mga binagyo dinaanan ni Yolanda? Gaano kalala? Maganda na ba ang sitwasyon?
Bago lahat, magandang umaga po, Mayor, General, and Kuya Melo. For the Red Cross po, ongoing pa rin po yung recovery program natin sa high and affected area. We are working in 9 provinces severely affected by Haiyan, particularly Leyte. Sa ngayon po, I could say that there is moving advancement with the situation. There's a lot of changes right now, especially in Leyte, wherein maayos na po siya, on-flowing na yung traffic, and people are already at the street doing some normal life. Although we could see a lot of devastation. For the Red Cross, we are concentrating in various support being given to beneficiaries, particularly sa shelter. We are doing two types of shelter, the shelter repair assistance and the core shelter, which is at this moment we have already constructed around 574 transitional shelter in Leyte, Northern Cebu, and Panay Island. And almost 4,316 families have been given shelter repair assistance. Including din po to ang livelihood and repair and reconstruction of the classroom and health facility. Aside this, we have also a long-term program on disaster risk reduction for community resilience. So yun po yung mga ongoing activities po sa Red Cross.
Okay.
Same din po, I also would like to mention in Zamboanga, we are also still working with the local government through the leadership of Mayor Climaco. We have our health station still in the grandstand and ongoing water distribution po. Of course, Red Cross is also working in Bohol, and we are now ending our recovery program in Northern Luzon, which is affected by also typhoon last August.
Okay. Mukhang lumalabas talagang pagtrahedya, pag-uusapan. Nangunguna Pilipinas. Ano kayang kasalanan natin? Ano? But anyway, General, how is it? How has the Armed Forces of the Philippines responded to all this crisis? Please.
Sa lahat po na mga lugar na tinamaan ng mga tatlong main disasters natin in 2013, andun po kami sa tatlong lugar na yan. Nangyari yung Zamboanga, in Bohol, and then yung Yolanda. And kasama kami sa initial efforts sa relief, no? And up to now, sa rehabilitation programs ng Bohol, Tacloban, and Zamboanga, kasama pa rin ang Armed Forces. No? Kami ay nagsusupport sa lahat ng programs ng ating local government. No? So we are aware of the example sa Bohol, mayroon silang tinatawag na post-Great Bohol Earthquake Rehabilitation Plan. Mga 12 billion yon total. No, of course, the mayor has just presented yung sa Zamboanga. And in Tacloban and other areas, no, 10 provinces kasi lahat yun. No? But the main destruction is doon sa Tacloban and neighboring towns. Ongoing yung ating armed forces in partnership with other agencies. Ano? Ang very visible ngayon sa Tacloban area, no, actually hindi Tacloban, Tanawan, Tolosa, and Palo Leyte. Itong naiiwan na mga military engineers galing sa South Korea. Up to now, andun pa sila, about 500 of them. And I think they plan to extend their stay. Doon po sila sa tatlong bayan ng Tolosa, Tanawan, and Palo, surrounding Tacloban. Doon naman sa Tacloban, nag-umpisa na last mga 2 weeks ago, yung bago ito lang yung update ko. Tinawag namin itong Pacific Partnership. Kasama ito with US and other countries, mayroong engineering projects in Tacloban and Palo. No? Ang Pacific Partnership, umiikot yung barko ng Hapon. Ang barko ng Hapon ang sinasakyan nila, but the engineers will come from the US and I think there are some Australians also. So galing yan Indonesia, Timor-Leste, Cambodia, and Vietnam. Nag-umpisa na yung engineering project June 18, but the main program talaga will start July 5 to 15 in Tacloban. So tayo sa 5 countries na ito, tayo ang last stop for the Pacific Partnership of the 2014. No? mga 4 na engineering projects, mostly school buildings and hospitals. The plan is to repair yung mga parang secondary hospitals around Tacloban so that ma-decongest ng konti yung pressure doon sa regional. So, magkakaroon ng construction ng outpatient building. This is all funded by the US military. So we will see more of them July 5 talaga at saka July 15. But the engineers already arrived about 2 weeks ago. So yun po yung armed forces will be supporting kasi nasa rehabilitation phase na tayo. And I think I note yung sinabi ni Mayor Climaco kanina yung confidence building. Especially sa Zamboanga, kailangan nating pagtuunan ng pansin yung sinabi ni Mayor na confidence building because sabi nga, man-made disaster po yon. So, ang dapat mag-solve din is tao rin. The armed forces, we have our own program on conducting continuous dialogue at saka forum with our Muslim brothers and sisters and even with the youth. Meron kaming mga partners sa mga youth, Muslim youth organizations so that we continuously inform them about what the government is doing for them, especially sa part namin sa military. I think it is important, while we had the Zamboanga crisis was part of a conflict, it is important on our part, kasi kami yung naging actor doon sa conflict. It's important that we also communicate that the government is after peace for everybody. And kailangan kami rin yung maging kasama doon. So yun po ang ginagawa ng inyong armed forces. Just last week, I visited Zamboanga. We saw the mayor. Gusto namin i-communicate doon sa mga pinuntahan namin na areas na while nangyari yung Bohol nga at saka yung Yolanda, we will always remember may Zamboanga na nangyari. So yun po, and for the information of everybody and the mayor, nagpunta po ako ma'am sa Chuchi noong Friday and I know meron na kayong mga plano para ang Chuchi is, I was told, they promised 1,000 houses, but I think you are now arranging for the land. And so yun po, ang Chuchi Foundation is a new partner of the Armed Forces. We have just signed a MOA 2 weeks ago with the Chuchi Foundation for our partnership in Ormoc for the construction of 2,000 houses. Nagkaroon na po ng donation doon ng lupa sa Ormoc. There is an ongoing negotiation for 1,000 houses in Bohol also. And I think 1,000 was committed for Zamboanga from Chuchi. Kami naman magpa-partner to provide the counterpart labor through our engineers.
Very good. Maganda yun. Teka muna. Mayor, nangyari sound system natin para na mamaligno. Mayor, paano yun? Dahilan sa Ramadan ngayon, pagkatapos fasting, may sapat bang pagkain pa yung mga evacuees? Dahil baka mamaya Ramadan na, gutom pa.
Yeah. Actually, ang pangangailangan in the holy month of Ramadan is the ablution. We need water because water is a form of cleansing. And prior to the holy month of Ramadan, when they asked the city government if they could use the Paseo del Mar in order to spot where the moon would be when they will start the holy month of Ramadan, nakapag-allocate na po kami ng mga patubig to prepare the devotees to go through the ablution. That is what is really needed. Ang pagkain po naman, kasi hindi po sila kumakain for as long as the sun is there, then it is in the evening, our humanitarian partners have also provided for a food for work program. Kasi po, mismo na po sa ating mga evacuante, sa mga IDPs, little by little, we have to win them out of food packs because we want them, and they also want a dignified living. So that will be in subsidiary provided to them. Nakakatuwa po kasi prior to the holy month of Ramadan, they have what they call ang pasalamat. They call it the du'a. And they have prepared, let's say, a little food of rice, of eggs, and fish. And they celebrate prior to the fasting. At even in the evacuation centers, it still happens, and it is still possible to prepare for this holy month of Ramadan and to fast despite of all these conditions that are present. Pero ang pangangailangan talaga namin ay tubig, sapat na kaunting pagkain para sa ating mga evacuees, and even the day-to-day needs that they have of food, shelter, and clothing po.
Opo, naalala ko pag yung tubig, talagang pangangailangan. Pero nung martial law, maraming takot sa tubig. Tapos pag sinabi kulang yung kuryente, marami ring aktivista takot din sa kuryente nung araw. Pero yun ay kasaysayan na lang. Pero let me ask the good general with us, how has this incident in Zamboanga affected the peace and order in that particular portion, no, of the Philippines? Have you noticed an increased insurgency in the disaster areas of Samar and Leyte and Bohol? Have you noticed any movement in the insurgency in these areas, General? I hope it's not classified.
Yung problema ng bansa natin, siguro alam naman natin lahat. Wala kaming klarong trend na nakita, no? But except in Tacloban, meron kaming napansin na pag merong darating na malaking bagyo, mukhang merong grupo na merong looting kasi na nangyari sa Tacloban, na mukhang hindi siya looting out of need. Parang organized looting, no? Mukhang iba yung tagabukas, iba yung naghahakot. So, identify namin kung anong grupo yon. So, henceforth, we are preparing na kung merong mga ganitong, like may darating na bagyo, in coordination with the Philippine National Police, we are watching itong mga grupo na marunong na mag-organize mag-take advantage ng situation. And that was very apparent in Tacloban. Fortunately, na-arrest naman yung in the few days lang. But the initial talaga is second day pa lang after Yolanda, meron ng looting. Hindi pa gutom ang tao, meron ng looting. Yun pala merong nakaplano na ganun. And so I think we should just be worried about yung ganong klaseng scenario.
Opo. Kaya ko na itanong yung General, ang mga nanakaw daw television sets at refrigerators, hindi pagkain. Kaya talagang ibang takbo nito, General.
Yes, merong nagpunta mismo sa office ko and told me about this, yung observation. Very clear na hindi siya looting ng mga taong gutom. Meron talagang nag-organize ng na yon. Because alam na nila na darating yung bagyo. So there was a group na naggumawa noon.
Pwede ba natin sabihin looting preparedness yun, hindi disaster preparedness? Parang handa yan, no?
But they can't do it always na gano'n, no? Kasi kaya kailangan din yung security component natin will always be there. Unfortunately, what happened to, especially sa Tacloban, talagang matindi yung distraction. Everybody in that place was a victim. So, mahirap din talaga yung situation. But I think we should be happy na rin na despite that massive distraction, naka-recover na ng kahit papaano yung ating mga kababayan. If you go to Tacloban now, makikita pa natin yung distraction, but I think nakita rin natin kung ano ka-resilient yung ating mga kababayan. With the help of everybody, no, hindi lang tayo mga Pilipino, international community included, na nakita rin, mayroong positive side din doon sa nangyari. Nakita natin kung paano talaga lumalabas yung magandang puso ng bawat Pilipino. I think we can hear countless stories of small heroic deeds galing sa lahat ng sektor. There is something positive in this. Sa nakikita natin, kaya may tanong nga, bakit yung bansa natin binubugbog ng disaster? I think sabi nila, dahil tayo lang ang kayang humarap nito. Sa ibang bansa ito nangyari, marami nang siguro. Marami nang mas masamang nangyari. I think the Filipino spirit is really tested by this disaster. So, despite all the destruction, I think we can be proud. No, our government and tayo as a people, we rise to the occasion. Yun siguro ang dapat matanda natin. But of course, hindi natin we do not hope for more. But I think we should accept the fact. Kaya nga nag-attend kami ng mga seminars to cope with the new trend. Sabi nila, Yolanda is the new normal. Meaning, let us not be surprised if disasters as big as Yolanda will be upon us again. It's the new normal. Okay. So dapat the more that we should be prepared for our people para ma-mitigate man lang yung effects ng disaster.
Medyo loaded yung statement nyo. Pero wala kayong nakita movement ng NPAs. Wala kayong nakita movement.
Ako meron man, hindi naman, I don't really worry about yung kung ano man ang gagawin nila. I think the government should focus more on what we can do for our people. Ito yung mga grupo na they will never succeed anyway. Let us focus on the more important affairs of governance rather than focus on this group na very negative para sa ating bansa.
Yeah, kung sabagay, kung mahirap daw ang tao, walang taxation na makukuha, kaya okay na rin. Tama. Anyway, sabi ng ilan yun. I'm not saying that. Pero sa Red Cross po, hindi ba kayo nagkakaroon ng donor fatigue? Dahil sa alam ko naman, yung inyong pondo mula rin sa Red Cross societies abroad. Hindi ba nagkaka-ulcer at nagkaka-anemia na rin yung mga societies abroad?
Actually, meron din kaming donor fatigue. We are just very lucky because Philippine Red Cross is one of the member of the 190 national society globally. So may mga bansa naman na with enough resources or abundant resources, I could say, na tumutulong din sa Pilipinas. Although nagiging problem lang po kasi when a disaster happen, hindi lang po sa Pilipinas, also worldwide. So kagaya po sinabi ni General, yung trend po ng disaster kasi, kagaya ng Zamboanga, di ba natakpan siya ng maraming disaster like Bohol and Yolanda. Same din po sa global. So kung may other disaster din po sa ibang bansa, naapektuhan din po yung funding ng Red Cross.
Pero hindi pa kayo nagkaka-anemia ngayon?
Ay, hindi naman po.
Hindi na mahalaga. Meron pa. Okay. Mayor, isang industriya ng Zamboanga yung sardinas. With the tragedy na ganito, hindi ba naapektuhan yung inyong kalakal ng sardinas?
The Chinese believe that crisis is an opportunity. Way back 2 years ago, nagkaroon po ng fishing ban. The fishing ban really was designed so that we will not be overcatching our fish, the schools of fishes. And so in this year, nagkaroon po ulit ng fishing ban, but miraculously po, napakadami ng fish catch. Sa dinami ng fish catch, hindi na po nakayanan ng aming 13 plants to really produce our sardines, at they ended up being fish meals, at nagkaroon na din ng complaint kasi of sanitation. So in a way, despite of what has happened to us, we are also blessed with a very abundant fish catch for this year. And this has really responded to giving livelihood, particularly for women. And why women in our sardine factories? Because to all the women here, our hands are very dexterous. Because of her dexterity, we are really able to really clean up the fish, himayin ang isda para po sa ating mga sardine companies. And for that, we are very thankful.
So walang epekto, mas maganda pa nga ngayon.
Mas maganda po ang huli. Kasi sa palagay po, sa awa ng Diyos, it has compensated the more than 50 billion pesos that have been stagnated in the period that the siege was really happening in the city, that in that amount of time.
Okay. We will open the floor to our media friends. Please identify yourself and the entity you represent. And please go ahead with your question and no privilege speeches. Okay? Let's start with the lady, Tess Ramiro, yeah, from the Catholic Media Network. Okay na yun.
This is addressed to the three of you, but particularly to Mayor and the General, good General. You're talking about the security program that you have for Zamboanga. There's such a thing as disaster preparedness, but for the man-made disaster, is there a preparedness that has been put in place already? Because, you know, even if we have the Bangsamoro agreement already, the implementation and the law is still forthcoming. So what kind of preparation has been done regarding the possibility again of a man-made disaster?
I will give the floor to the General, and I will be speaking.
Yeah, because I'm talking also the civilian aspect.
Yes,
Sige.
I'm responding to that.
Yeah, okay. Salamat.
Thank you. I think I mentioned kanina, even while the crisis was going on, kami po sa military, we do not lose contact with people kahit sa anong side. No? Yung sa MNLF, di ba, we have a peace agreement with them. And so therefore, we have an integration program that we are proud to say na very successful. And so as the siege was going on in Zamboanga, I was talking to my friends, no, mga officers na nakasama ko na former MNLF members, no, tawag namin sa kanila is integris, ano. So we have contact with many of them, and sila naman ay kasama natin for a long time na. And so I think balikan natin yung sinabi kanina ni Mayor about confidence building. Kasi dapat it's a continuous process, it's a continuous process of reaching out, of dialogue. No? Meron bang nangyaring major conflict because of issues, no? Nasa labas na po sa amin yon, sa military. Maybe we can say na sa part namin, yung aming dialogue and forum, no, na ginagawa sa kanila ay andun yon. More so now that we want to prevent, no, we cannot afford another incident like that, no. So as I said kanina, on our own, no, meron kaming dine-develop na mga programs. In fact, before I left Zamboanga, I have directed my group commander there to initiate more projects and dialogue. For your information also, the Armed Forces and the NCMF, yung National Commission for Muslim Filipinos, meron kaming formal na memorandum of agreement also. We have joint projects with them, like yung Peace Radio, yung Muslim youth camps, no, that's ongoing in the whole of Mindanao, no. So yung partnership namin with this NCMF provides us the opportunity to work continuously with them, no, AFP at saka NCMF, sa mga projects na masasabi ko kasama dito sa sinabi ni Mayor na confidence building. We continue to do that, ano. Yung sinusundan namin na IPSP Bayanihan, ito na kasi yung bagong paradigm na ina-adapt na namin. I think we can be very proud to say, no, na naging very successful ito because this is part of a dialogue among us, no. Yung ano kasi siya is tayo lahat nag-uusap, no. Ito yung parang meaning talaga ng bayanihan, di ba? Nag-uusap, nagtutulungan. Ang bayanihan is unique for us Filipinos. So rest assured, no, sa Zamboanga, yung in the context yung question about ano yung pwedeng gawin to prepare, yun po ang ginagawa namin. Kung mayroong program si mayor or either any agency of government, kasama rin po kami doon sa magpa-participate. So that yung hindi kami nawawala doon sa mga lahat ng programs. Nagko-cross kami sa mga iba-ibang programs. But on our own, we do that. Meron din naman yung sa kabilang side yon, more on sa Central Mindanao side yon. Meron po yon. Hindi lang lahat naman nababalita yung mga ginagawa, no. Kaya po, despite the tension, in Mindanao mostly normal yung galaw, no, ng pamumuhay. If you go to Mindanao, if you go to Zamboanga, ma-compare mo yung buhay na buhay yung lugar. Yung mga tension na yan, we continuously have to work on yan nga, yung confidence building na to. It should be a work talaga na tuloy-tuloy. Kami sa AFP will be part of that. Continuous po yung mga meeting na yan among government agencies, OPA, PNP. Tuloy-tuloy po yun. Hindi po tayo tumitigil doon.
Mayor.
Ma'am Tess, if you all have a copy of our premiere edition, by the way, I'd like to announce to you that I am launching this for the first time in Metro Manila. And thanks to Kuya Melo for this. I'd like you to look at this Z3R plan. If you look closely at this Z3R plan, this is the area where we were attacked by the MNLF, particularly in this mangrove area. Nakikita niyo po dito in that small corner, may nakalagay na kaming proposed naval and Coast Guard headquarters. And there is also another proposed area for security. When you do disaster planning as a consequence of a man-made attack, then, through the help of Secretary Singson, DPWH, we have to plot in our vital police military installations. And one of the biggest goals is that to have the Philippine Maritime Command out of Camp Crame, where there is no disaster and the boats are there, but bring them to areas that would best respond to maritime concerns. And there is a 3-hectare property donated by some individuals that will put the Maritime Command here. So this is disaster planning in response to man-made disasters. On the other hand, what is our basis? Our basis was the Crisis Management Manual. When this happened, I was given a copy by this, and we elevated the matter to His Excellency the President. Ano pong basehan? Bilang local chief executive, kung nakikita mo ang man-made crisis composes already of not the magnitude of your city police and the task for Zamboanga, nandyan na ang mga units ng Philippine Armed Forces, the Marines, Air Force, Coast Guard, Navy, and even the Light Reaction Team at ibang mga division that are responding to this crisis. Nandyan na rin po ang Secretary of Defense and the Secretary of the Local Government and the Commander-in-Chief. Then you elevate the issue following that disaster crisis management plan. As local government unit, ang PNP po namin is around 1 police is to 600 Zamboangueño individuals. And that to them is already 99% of the quota. But that is not yet enough. So we have to create force multipliers in the barangay called the Barangay Action Teams, yung BPATs ni Secretary Mar Rojas, and of course, the Task Force Zamboanga in terms of the military. Local government unit has to support this by allocating a budget. And for the first time, our supplemental budget on security ballooned to 191 million. Kasi nakita namin, ano bang pinakamalaking risk ng Zamboanga? And the biggest risk is man-made. Thus, we have to intensify this. And it was only in the year 2013 that we approved our City Disaster Risk Reduction Manual. And in that manual, we already identified the geohazards of natural calamities, but we were also preemptively responding to man-made crisis. Example po, kidnapping, bombing, the existence, for example, of some internal and external attacks.
Very well. Yes, please. Paki-identify lang po.
Mike?
Ano pong comment nyo sa panawagan ng ating Presidente kay Duterte na ang Mindanao ay pinag-iingat sa mga terorista ngayon dahil merong banta ng panggugulo?
Ay, di kay General na siguro yun. General, would you care to respond to that? Because there was this alleged call from the President to Mayor Duterte to be careful. Pero I think there was something wrong in it because if it is indeed confidential, it should not have been brought out to the media and create panic among the people. So there must be a spy somewhere. Pero General, ano ba yun? Totoo ba yun? Nervous ba tayo?
Matagal po ako na-assign sa Davao, so alam ko to. 4 years lang.
4 years lang.
Yung in-announce na yon, I think there's a purpose to that also. For people to understand kung meron mang mga security precautions that will be in place, na is now in place. No, Task Force Davao, and I think immediately after what the President said, nagkaroon ng series of conferences. Secretary Rojas went to Davao and Mayor Duterte called the conference among the security elements, no? PNP, mainly Task Force Davao at saka PNP. And we received, because of that conference, there is an announcement, an assurance, no, that the security measures are in place. Ang announcement na yun, I think, was intended for the public to understand that there will be more security measures to be put up. Kasi kung walang announcement, the people will not understand na bakit dumami yung checkpoint, bakit dumami yung presensya ng police at saka military. So, that setup in Davao is normal. Yung pag-set up ng mga... No, what I mean is normal. Yung nakikita nyo, pagbaba nyo sa airport sa Davao, yung unang makikita nyo yan is Task Force Davao na naka-uniform na merong badge na kanyan. That has been going on for mga 10 years na sa Davao since the bombing of the airport, di ba? And mula noon hanggang ngayon, very successful na yung mga security precautions na ganyan. And so, sa akin, I think the city of Davao has responded very well to the threat na sinasabi. And sa amin yung setup doon sa Davao City, yung army component na yan ng Task Force Davao has been working very well with the Philippine National Police and the city government. Yun lang, maraming dadaan ng checkpoint so that the city of Davao will be secured.
One thing good for Davao is yung checkpoint nila hindi nangongotong. Right? Okay. Yun ang pagkakaiba. Hindi, sabi nila. Pero ewan ko lang. Yes, please.
Tracy Cabrera po, of the National Press Club.
Okay.
I want to ask the good general, how do you reconcile, kasi di ba yung mga sundalo, as military personnel, you are thought to just to follow orders. Di ba yung yes sir, walang no sir eh. Now, how can you reconcile yung, di ba, ang mandate ng gobyerno ay tulungan yung mga sinalanta ng bagyo, ng mga disasters. How do you reconcile yung mission ng AFP na tulungan ang taong bayan to politicians who do not do their mandate? Instead of helping the people, kinukuha pa nila yung mga pagkain, papalitan nila ng local, ganun ba? Tapos yung mga low class na rehabilitation houses. So
Ibig mo sabihin,
ano ba ang
Tracy,
pananaw ng AFP sa ginagawa ng politiko?
okay, ibig mo sabihin, Tracy, hindi pa ba nababaril yung mga sundalo, yung mga kawatan na local officials? Ganun ba yun? Tama ba yung pagkakabasa ko sa'yo? General.
Yung mga pang-college na question kasi kala ko high school lang ito. Like, kami naman, as part of government, no, yung sundalo, hindi kami, ang setup namin, we always, ang training is yung obedience is paramount. No? And so, I think that's good. Diba? Mahirap naman siguro kung sa dami ng opinion, dadagdagan pa namin, di ba? So yung kung ikaw ay galit sa mga taong ganon, no? I think nobody will disagree with you, di ba? But for us to give an opinion to your opinion, siguro ngayong gabi na natin pag-usapan yan.
May parto tayo. Hindi, pero General, I heard this actually happened raw. Samantalang nagbubuhat yung mga pulis at sundalo ng relief goods. Kahit yung mga sundalong nagbubuhat, hindi tumatagal dahil ang pakain, kung hindi hamburger, chicken joy. Sa halip daw kaya, wouldn't this be part of disaster preparedness na in times of mobilization, meron kayong sariling soup kitchen, meron kayong sariling may quartermaster, may magpapakain, may mess. Sa halip na umasa doon sa mga madali ang pagkain, pero manghihina yung ating manpower.
That's right. Ano? Maybe I can tell you the example yung nangyari sa Giwan. Giwan, I know personally, kaya meron silang Senate resolution na they were awarded personally by Senate President Drilon. Nung parating pa lang yung Yolanda, ito kasi may experience sa Pablo, yung nangyari sa Pablo. Itong mga sundalo nagtatawagan ng mga yan. And so what they did in Giwan, kahit ganun kalaki ang distraction, walang namatay sa Giwan. Yung 14 na sundalo doon, ang ginawa nila is just because of the experience in Pablo, bago dumating yung bagyo, yung mga gamit nila, naka-impake yon, naka-plastic lahat yon. And meron silang provision for about 10 days to 2 weeks. Yung sinasabi mo, Melo, na dapat meron silang naka-stock na pagkain. It's because of the experience nga sa Pablo. Pinasa sa kanila yung experience na yon. So that they will not be, hindi sila parehong victim din. Hindi ka naman ma-excuse sa ano eh. You remember your soldiers, yung sundalo po natin, ay hindi po kami nakabarak sa mga magandang building. Kung nakapunta kayo sa mga detachment ng mga sundalo, mas mahina pa yung aming detachment kaysa isang average na bahay. So therefore, kung mawas out yung isang bahay na normal na average na bahay, mas sira yung aming detachment. But what they did in Giwan, yung naka-impake na sila, they have their own food for the next 2 weeks. At kaya nga nagkaroon sila ng napakagandang example yung sinabi mo na yon. And so kami naman, we learn from yung incidents na ganito. Tacloban, example, sino mag-akala na 30 feet high na tubig ang darating? And so, these lessons, we take seriously, I think yung sinabi mo, that's being done now. Yung pag may darating na ganitong mga warnings, we should be more prepared. Hindi na pwede yung dati na parang yung aasa ka sa responders from the outside. Dapat talaga merong naka-in place na mga supplies for us. And we're doing that now.
Very well. Mayor Climaco, Mayor Beng, without necessarily opening healed wounds, don't you think the Zamboanga caper was a manifestation of failed intelligence?
I do not want to delve on in terms of intelligence. I think we are a failure of the peace process because an agency has been tasked by government to deal with the peace. and you just do not give up on peace because the parties have refused to dialogue. Peace is a long enduring process. If you look at the 1996 peace agreement, there was no provision for disarmament and demobilization. From the very start of our administration, in June, we already asked national government how to deal with the MNLF and Mizwari if they would march in the city with their guns. When the executive secretary went to Zamboanga together with the Secretary of National Defense, we asked that of him together with other governors as well, and even in the Regional Development Council. Because Zamboanga has a history way back in 2001 in what we call the Kabatangan Siege, which to the present moment, the Task Force Zamboanga commander was Colonel Alexander Llano. The MNLF held private individuals hostage and because of their property in Kabatangan. After holding him the hostage for 2 days, there was an arrangement and they were made to release the hostages into safety, and the MNLF was allowed to leave Zamboanga scot-free. But in 2013, I've said that because individuals, a 2-year-old boy, Ethan Ando, held hostage by the MNLF, given 150 pesos by the MNLF and was released only to face a crossfire with his parents, Ethan was hit in the forehead and held hostage the second time again by the MNLF. For me, my dear colleagues in the media, no child should suffer in the hands of individuals with guns because of a failed process of talking peace. And so as local chief executive, I am one of the 6 of the signatories who said that accountability and justice has to be done. This time, we will not allow them to leave Zamboanga without having cases filed against them. And I think we should learn that the process to peace is really validating what is happening on the ground and transmitting it to some actions. And to say that Mizwari is a spent force is a falsity because we have spent so much to fight for peace and bring about peace in the city of Zamboanga, which up to now, people, children are suffering and are displaced.
Mabigat itong issue natin. Akala nyo, relief and rehab lang. Medyo lumalalim ng konti. Pahabol.
Yung naval base dun sa yung ginagawa, is this an offshoot of the EDCA? Are the U.S.
This is not an offshoot of the EDCA. This is an offshoot of the Zamboanga siege. Because a long time ago, there has already been an property by the Naval Service Command, and eventually, after the siege, nagkaroon po ng PCNA, Post-Crisis Assessment, and they've targeted military installations po. But it is also a fact that Zamboanga City, since 2002, has hosted the Joint Special Operations Task Force, and there is indeed the presence of U.S. military troops that have also been part of the special operations in terms of their war against terrorism.
Okay, let me pick it up from there. Mayor, if it is not classified and it will not endanger your friendship with the Americans, where were your borders inside the Southcom, no? When the siege was going on? I guess they have intelligence operatives. Why didn't they see an upcoming crisis? Kailangan ba nila si Madam Auring?
Well, actually po, kahit na po may Madam Auring na po tayo dyan, Ang proseso kasi, ang pagkakaintindi ko po ng presence of the US troops is that really from the very start is to assist the Philippine military in their global war on terrorism. There are certain parameters that have set that prevent them from interfering in the operations of the military. But on the humanitarian standpoint, ang tulong nila po sa amin was to give us very important locational maps at the height of the siege na ipapakita namin kung gaano na po yung devastation of the city. And they were also the first that have responded to the humanitarian crisis by providing the needed latrines po from the humanitarian aspect. And today, because of our programs called the Engage program of the USAID, magkakaroon na po kami ng Peace Corps volunteer in the person of Paula Strong. Since the time of Mayor Cesar Climaco, wala na pong Peace Corps volunteers na ipinapadala sa Zamboanga. At ngayon, manunumbalik to para makatulong din po sa humanitarian aspect.
Very well. Yes, please. Please identify yourself.
And the other one for Mayor Climaco. It's about confidence building. A little background. Yesterday, our common friend Lysander, Angie Angyongto, wanted to invite Senator Bamakino to be a guest speaker in the general monthly meeting of the Davao Chamber of Commerce and Industry. I followed up Bamakino and to find out if he's willing to because of what's happening in Davao City. Now that you've told us that it will be peaceful, I feel that am I safe to tell Bam Aquino that he can go?
Knowing Bam, he will not be harmed.
Okay, you answered it, Melo. The other one for Mayor Climaco. When I look at page 3 of 3 in the way that I believe, so will you give us again another confidence word to really make ourselves feel that everything will go on in the reconstruction of Zamboanga City? I'd like to go there again if I feel I'm safe. Thank you.
Sir Jerry, I believe that as a 1-year-old mayor, a neophyte debutant of this, with a siege that has to be faced, all the magnitude of disasters you want to throw in the book, from human to man-made, timelines are timelines and they are set. But how do we attain timelines? It is in the process of everybody's committing to work at it. I also have learned from my UN partners that we do not set the goal on the timeline. Because if we set our goal on the timeline and not on the people, we will be discouraged. Maybe we will wake up to June 2015 and you will say, where is the permanent housing? Where are the bank houses? How come people are still suffering? But if you set it on the human quality index of the people, that from September 2013 to this particular period of June 2014, how are they doing? They are in temporary shelters, they are in evacuation centers, they have meals given to them, they are able to gain livelihood, and though we see the light at the end of the tunnel, as prescribed by the President when he went to us, that is a goal. But that goal may change depending also on the on the resolution of some of the difficulties that we've had. And very briefly, allow me to share with you the difficulties. If you look at this map, nakikita nyo po dito yung mga NHA as lead agency and acquisition of properties. Ito pong fourth to the last item, nakalagay dyan, Chong, in terms of shelter, hindi na po ito matutuloy. Kasi po hindi na namin nabili ito kasi may problema po sa legalities. And yan pala ang nagpiprevent us from really aiming at our goal in 2015 because there are certain encumbrances that cannot be mitigated with the time frame. Thus, we have to readjust. But let us make our goal at the end of the tunnel realistic by focusing on people's livability and their state of life that has to be responded.
Okay? Yes, please.
Magandang umaga po. David Oro, DZMM, ABS-CBN.
Kita mo naman sa boses. Taka-radyo.
Mag-iisang taon na ho pala no, ang nangyaring trahedya dyan sa Zamboanga City. Alam naman po natin na nasundan pa po ito ng marami pang mga kalamidad at bumuhos yung tulong kahit ng ibang bansa doon po sa, halimbawa sa Tacloban. Kami ho dito sa media sa Manila, gusto naming malaman kung paano ho namin masasabi sa aming mga pagbo-broadcast kung ano pa ho ang tulong na kailangan po ng Zamboanga City. Para, nabanggit nyo ho kanina, mukhang may problema po yata sa mga pagkain, pananamit at tubig ng mga taga Zamboanga. Ano po ang pwede nating ipanawagan sa ating national government kahit may tulong na ho sila at kami naman po sa media, Mayor Climaco.
Marami pong salamat, David Gold.
David Oro po. David Oro.
Kaya nga, it's in the English version ngayon. Diba?
Siguro lang.
So, ang pangangailangan po namin really is really ang dislodging. I'd like to share with you, ang pag-dislodging po ng ating mga latrines, we have to spend 130,000 just to clean up these latrines. And if you try to compile it in a monthly average, that's 6 million. Ang ating pagtubig, ang ating pong paggastos sa electricity sa ating mga evacuation camps, hindi naman po to sa regular budget ng eskwelahan, hindi po to sa regular budget ng mga schools. So that we will be subsidizing until we will be able to go through permanent housing units. Naintindihan po namin that money should go where the greatest number of people need it. And as far as my city is concerned, children are given temporary schooling, but they still need educational items. The UN organization, DSWD, was there and have provided for volunteers to care for our evacuation camps. But from the day-to-day living po, we really need water. I really need underwear in terms of the day-to-day lives. Kasi po when disaster strikes, I noticed the only thing that you will carry is what will cover your body. But for the next day, even if you have the left side, the right side, eventually you will run out of sides to cover your body. So I need clothing, underwear for children, for the elderly, and for the parents as well. And then, kung pwede pong mabigyan na rin po ng mga pangangailangan in terms of blankets, water because of the holy month of Ramadan, and of course, yung maibibigay po ng ating mga UN organizations is the sanitation, the wash concerns of water and sanitation po.
Napakahalaga nun. Very well. Sabi na sa inyo basta tubig at kuryente, problema yan, kahit nung martial law. Sige. Alright. Meron pa ba tayong dagdag na tanong mula sa mga kasama natin sa media? Meron pa? Okay, let me ask Red Cross. In a matter of months, mag-iisang taon na naman yung Zamboanga, yung Bohol, at yung Haiyan. God forbid, we have other disasters in other parts of the country. How prepared is Red Cross in terms of blood? Kung dugo ang pag-uusapan. Dahil meron nagsasabi, may lindol na maaaring maganap sa Metro Manila. God forbid, do we have enough resources for blood?
For the blood supply po, that is one of our main part of the disaster response plan namin or contingency plan. We have commitment to the government to ensure that we have these numbers all chapters or offices or blood bank ng Philippine Red Cross. Day to day, we continue to have a donor recruitment, and we continue to have these bloodletting programs within the Red Cross in nationwide po.
Okay. Dagdagan ko pa problema mo. God forbid, mawala ng kuryente, paano mo i-stock ang dugo?
Well, what happened in Haiyan, it also gave us a lot of lesson learned. Right now, we have actually procured a lot of generators and solar lamps. We are, like what the General mentioned a while ago, Haiyan was a normal disaster right now. That's why, considering our experience in Haiyan, totally all the basic lifeline as are zero, we consider it as part of our contingency plan.
Very well.
We also have this mobile blood bank actually na procure po ni Chairman Gordon, and other already in place concerning restoration of basic life support.
Okay. This may be classified, General. Nakabili na po bang armed forces ng satellite phones? Satellite phones, nakabili na po ba?
Matagal na po tayong meron yan. Bakit mo natanong?
Hindi, nagka-problema raw si Secretary Rojas saka si Secretary Volts nung may Yolanda, walang satellite phone.
Yeah, I think yung lesson nga dito, I think part ito sa mga napag-usapan namin. I think that holds true to everybody. Sanay tayo gumamit ng cellphone. In Yolanda, napatunayan, ito, nabuhay uli yung mga radio groups after that. Yung sa Cebu, Samar, and Leyte. Yung mga amateur radio groups na yan, matagal na nilang iniwanan. Because of Yolanda, na napatunayan na we should have redundancy. Ibig sabihin, andyan yung cellphone, but don't rely on the cellphone 100%. Yung reliance sa cellphone led to that, parang akala, parang indestructible yung ating mga cell sites, di ba? And so, part of the lessons learned, do not forget the more primitive ways of communication. Even yung sa mga warning, nakalimutan natin yung mga, nung unang panahon, wala namang yung bells, kaya nga yung communities ngayon, I think, is, the communities are now, yung nag-a-adjust din tayo na patunayan natin na hindi pwede yan. Even sa amin, dahil nga sanay na sa cellphone at saka internet, even yung radio, na kung saan very strong, merong mga areas na nawala mismo yon. And so, I think the answer to that question is kung anong ginagawa mo araw-araw, hawak mo cellphone, pag nawala siya, nawala na rin yung iba. So, the lesson is, huwag kalimutan yung mas luma na technology dahil mas resilient yon. Yung radio, mga radio groups natin. But, because of Yolanda ka, nabuhay yung Samar Leyte amateur radio group. Sila yung naka-position doon sa San Juanico para tulungan nila kami, na-activate siya bigla. Yung matagal ng mga radio groups na parang kinalimutan na yung mga radio. Now, mga radio groups sa Cebu, nagputa ulit lahat sila ng kanilang antena. So we need redundancy in communication. So, yun ang lessons na even tinuturo natin yung huwag kalimutan yung sa mga communities, even sa barangays, yung kung wala yung cellphone, kung wala yung radio, anong pwedeng gamitin? Di ba? Meron pa naman, marami pa, yung batingting, yung tinatawag ng batingting.
Yung kuratong baliling sa Mindanao. Originally, kawayan yun, na may may pangkalampag. Pero I remember during our time sa Radyo Veritas ni Joseph Parafina, we got a call from Ka Roger. May he rest in peace. Sabi ni Ka Roger, pakitawagan naman yung smart. May problema. Bakit? Sira yung cell site sa Tagkawayan. Wala kaming komunikasyon sa tropa. Sabi ko, paano ko sasabihin yun? Hindi, pakisabi mo, kahit yung mga sundalo, hindi rin nila magagamit yung cell site. So, damay-damay na lang. Dahil maraming magbabiyahe. Okay? Totoo yun. Karanasan namin nung araw yun. Pero ano pong aasahan sa Zamboanga bago mag-anibersaryo? What will happen? Will we be able to bring more people out of the Enrique grandstand? As reported by OCHA, released today, that the government has plans to reduce people inside the sports complex. Please tell us more details.
Kami po yung nagpapasalamat at nananawagan na rin po. September 9 will be the anniversary of the siege in the city of Zamboanga. As it has displaced people, ginawa po yung aming grandstand as an evacuation center. We intend to first of all clear all schools as evacuation centers in order to bring children to their classrooms. Secondly, we need to clear and decongest the grandstand because it is ideally a site for sports development. Talking about resiliency, our elementary and high school pupils did not have a grandstand, but they were able to be victorious as champions of the Zipra Amit in Region 9 despite of the grandstand. And that is the contribution of our young people to Zamboanga City. But eventually, they will be needing a grandstand for them to be able to also prepare and respond to the sports development of the city. Thus, by June, hopefully 2015, we hope that we will be able to rehabilitate the grandstand in toto, but most importantly, respond to the most vulnerable groups in the grandstand to temporary and transitory sites as well as those living in the shorelines.
Yung pong shorelines natin, anong plano ninyo immediately?
Well, our immediate plan is to, we have to revalidate the most vulnerable people, and immediately after the priority has been set, yung eskwelahan, sila din po itatransfer natin sa transitory site. At ang transitory site dapat malapit din sa dagat kasi po sila yung mga badyaw na nangangailangan ng magkaroon ng hanap buhay na malapit po sa dagat.
Okay. Hindi ho smugglers yun nandun sa tabing dagat. Buti na sigurado. Joseph? Joseph Parapina po ng Channel 4.
Sabi sa kanya meron sa pamo ng justisya na yung mga nakasuhan na yung bago sa Metro Manila yun. Anong dating sa inyo na sapat na makabayaran yun sa mga pinagagawang damages sa area ninyo? Yung takbo ng justisya naman doon sa mga gumawa na
Joseph, siguro hindi talaga maisagot na kung sapat ba talagang kabayarahan sapagkat buhay ang pinag-uusapan natin. Sa ngayon po, kahit na pong pangbayad sa ating abogado, in terms of the judge, ang local government unit pa ang magtutustos nito. So, ganyan po ang laking dagok when you talk about justice, that even the local government must set a provision because kami po ang nagbibigay ng subsidy po sa ating Department of Justice in terms of the regional trial courts. Kaya po, mahalaga that the Department of Justice comes in to really provide subsidy so that the mechanism of bringing in the documents from Zamboanga City to the regional trial courts in Pasig or Metro Manila can be responded. Pumasok na po sila in terms of the necessary filing, but ang gastusin po for the personnel is taken care of by the city.
Okay? Yes, please.
Magandang umaga po. Ako ay si Linggoy ng Opinion. Kanina umaga sa balita sa radyo, merong isang nabaril sa Quezon City na dinala sa East Avenue Medical Center. Hindi po tinanggap. Dahil yung pong emergency room ay undergoing renovation. So, pinalipat po sa Quirino Memorial Hospital. Nasa Quezon City rin, pero iba yung ibang purpose yun dahil ang primary trauma hospital is East Avenue. Okay. Ito isang nabaril lang. So ngayon, na-imagine ko kung dosen-dosenang nabaril kagaya sa Zamboanga or kung merong galing sa kalikasan na mga pangyayari, Sino po ang nagko-coordinate kung saan po i-traffic? Ang tawag po doon ay triage.
Triage.
Diba? So, merong tao napipili kung sino ang maaring mas mabuhay at maaring mas hindi mabuhay. No? I mean, I'm just exaggerating. Pero ibig sabihin, kailangan kung sa kalsada merong priority kung sino yung go, sino yung stop. Sa pagbigay ng limited na medical attention, meron rin kailangan priority. So in different situations, kasi yung pong Zamboanga ay isang sitwasyon, yung pong Tacloban is another situation, sino po ang nagka-traffic ng ganun?
Para sa amin po, it was the Department of Health that responded to the triage and the city health officer. Kasi po, immediately after the siege, the Zamboanga City Medical Center was in the heart of the crisis. That's why we had to transfer them to the Western Mindanao State University and put up a temporary hospital. At pagkatapos doon, nagkaroon din po kami ng even priority po sa mga sundalo at ating mga civilians. Even the MNLF were also treated in these hospitals.
Okay, that's the Zamboanga experience. Sa Red Cross, anong karanasan ninyo?
We have this what we call incident command system. It is an integrated system of all agency involved in response, including the AFP and the Philippine Red Cross and PNP. Each of the agency has its role, like the what we mentioned in the tagging or triage, which by definition is prioritization of injured persons based on their cases. It is only the doctor can allowed to do the triaging, which is what is the first priority, second, third, and the walking wounded, which is the last priority. Like Philippine Red Cross, our role is more on the rescue and patient bearer once it is already tagged, or let's say in a mass casualty incident where we extract victims from a danger area and put it in a safe area for doctors' immediate treatment and triage.
Okay. Roderic, this may cost you your job, pero I have to ask you this. Isn't it that it's the job of the Red Cross to do casualty count?
Hindi naman po. But we do, when we do casualty count, we coordinate with the Department of Health and the relevant agency in charge of the casualty count po.
But do you report to the authorities kung meron kayong matatagpo ang patay sa isang calamity zone?
Yes, sir. Opo.
And how many have you reported to the government, let's say, dun sa Tacloban area?
Sa Tacloban po, we have actually retrieved around 200 bodies were immediately
reported.
Turned over po dun sa local authority na nagpi-pick up ng cadavers.
Okay. Niliwanag ko lang yon. Pero sa armed forces po ba, do you have any body count? Na-monitor niyo ba kung ilan talaga yung namatay dun sa trahedya sa Hayan?
Kami po ay part lang sa buong system. Maybe in some areas kami yung magpo-provide ng data, but the whole yung sinasabing incident command system, part lang kami doon. Maybe in some areas na kami lang yung parang pinakamarami doon, kami yung primary source. But in many areas, yung ibang agencies naman ang in charge.
Okay.
Is it the responsibility of the Red Cross, body count? Yun lang ata nakita problema. I just want comments from the three of you. Dito problema natin, nobody takes responsibility. Maganda yung united effort tayo, AFP, PNP, local government, executive part of the government, di ba? Kanya lang, pag nagkaroon ng problema, nagsisisihan na sila. Hindi, wala nang magtatay na ako na responsible dyan.
Okay. So, dadagdagan ko na yon. Don't you think it should be the military who should say, kami na muna bahala rito, we will take over? We will do everything. We will just coordinate with the mayor? Di kaya pwede yun?
Di naman siguro tama na mag-take over kami. There's no such thing as... and we are not the experts dyan sa maraming, yung sa usapin na ito. Hindi po kami expert dyan. in all this, ang primary namin na trabaho is to support the Philippine National Police. Palagi kaming support. Baka palagi nyo lang kami nakikita, but hindi kami above everybody. We always work in support of the PNP and the local government. Yun po ang default namin sa trabaho namin. Hindi pwede siguro, hindi kami pwedeng mag-take over
Okay.
in any place. Hindi po.
Dahil
hindi
paano
po.
kasi kung magde-declare ng state of emergency, kung minsan yung disaster brigade nagiging disaster. Yun ang isang problema. But anyway, reaction from the mayor and then reaction from the Red Cross.
Well, I can only talk about the crisis that has happened in the city of Zamboanga. Immediately when the incident happened, kailangan i-activate natin ang crisis management team. And under the crisis management po, meron pong crisis management center. The command center has to respond to it. That's why, even in the selection of the police and military responses, initially, dito po dumadaan sa crisis manager. So in our city, ang city administrator will be the command center head, but the head of the crisis management is the local chief executive. So sagot ko po lahat ng mga responsibilidad ng nangyayari at the police and military will coordinate with the local chief executive.
Very well. Sa Red Cross po, whom do you take orders from?
As a main role po ng Philippine Red Cross as an auxiliary to the government, so we maintain our readiness status to respond in any disasters when we are needed actually. And then of course, our role as an auxiliary, we also take orders from kung sino po yung pinakamataas, like the chief local government units, or even actually we're very glad working with the AFP because they really on when they're doing the command and control on disasters, we look forward in working together.
Okay, very well. Yes, please. Si Pat Santos po yan, medyo madilim lang ng konti, pero go ahead.
Then minsan, nung kasagsagan ng Uraga, there was this incident that transpired between isang Red Cross official, si Ma'am Wendo rin yata, tsaka a certain local government chief.
Bohol yun.
Sa Bohol.
Gusto nung local chief, ibigay sa kanya para siya mag-distribute.
Bohol yan.
Pag bumalag yata sa side nyo, what happened there?
It's actually resolved na po yun. Nagkaroon lang po ng konting misunderstanding because Red Cross maintain its neutrality at all levels. Because we have this 10 code of conduct, which one of the main code of conduct is we are accountable to the donor and beneficiary. So nagkaroon lang po ng parang hindi lang po konti, but it was resolved nicely po.
O yun, kasundo na sila. Okay? David, may tanong ka pa? Wala na. O sige. Let me ask our friends, siguro sa Red Cross, ano pa priorities nyo ngayon sa mga susunod na panahon?
Ang pinaka-main priority po natin is, one is we are doing a lot of program. We help more on strengthening our capacity through our chapters nationwide to be prepared in all types of disasters. Although like now, it's not the usual normal, so it's really, Yolanda had given us a high intensity of preparedness.
Okay. Very well. General, please.
Ganon din po sa amin. Kanina may question about parang how do you reconcile. Mayroon yatang pananaw yung iba na ang disaster response is hindi po namin trabaho. Mali po yon, trabaho po namin yon. Hindi siya ang number one naming trabaho. Pero kung meron kaming 4 na mission area na sinasabi, kung security yung una, pangalawa po yung tinatawag namin yung humanitarian assistance and disaster response. Kasama po yon sa trabaho namin. Hindi lang siya ang una naming trabaho. And so, in all this, while wala pa mang disaster, meron kaming preparations so that, tulad ng sinabi kanina ng kasama natin sa Red Cross, kami nagpe-prepare. Kung may nangyayari na, kahit wala pang coordination, piniprepare namin yung sarili namin. Units, we prepare units to, ako, kahit kaano ka busy, yung mga seminars na ma-attend po kami noon, dahil I think I said this kanina, yung preparedness natin na sa experience ay medyo challenge tayo doon. We need to talk about many things, ano. And so this yung inyong armed forces, kasama po sa trabaho namin ang mag-respond sa disaster. Kasama po kami sa lahat ng agencies kahit saan, no. And so asahan nyo na kami, we will try our best to be able to respond immediately sa mga kahit saang lugar sa ating bansa.
Very well. And now the mayor, dahil ang kababaihan po usually kahit sa bahay, ang may last say, si Mayor Beng, sa kanyang mensahe sa ating mga
So ako po'y nagpapasalamat, Kuya Melo, to each and every one of you for giving us this opportunity to share about the Zamboanga siege. Kami po'y nagpapasalamat sa Panginoon at lalo na po sa pulis at militar na binigyan kami ng pagkakataon to defend the city of Zamboanga. We are slowly building back better. What we need is water, food, clothing, medicines, toiletries, and some school supplies, slippers, and shoes for our children because the road to recovery is a very difficult one. We might not have enough resources. We do not have enough resources in as far as the city of Zamboanga is concerned, and we are totally dependent on the national government and international humanitarian partners. Kaya po, napakalaking priority po ang aking pagpunta dito ngayon sa inyo para maipabahagi po ang kung ano ba talaga kami at saan po kami patutungo. So, instead of saying the last word, I just like to say muchas gracias y vaya con Dios, particularly to each and every one of you, to Chairman Chris Arnuco for assisting me and his team.
Okay. So, we'd like to say thank you. We're a bit crowded. Maraming taong dumalo ngayon, no? So, we'd like to thank our friends from Aristocrat for being our home for the past 52 weeks. And next week will be our anniversary. So, that's our first anniversary. Kaya masaya. As parting word, alam po ninyo mga kaibigan, in times of calamities, in times of disasters, this is when you get to know who your friends are. Okay? This is when you get to know who are sincere in helping, even without cameras and video cams and what have you. People who come out, go out of their way to try to make a difference, no? To help people in need. And with that message, I'd like to say thank you to our friends who took time out to be with us sa Tapatan sa Aristocrat. Maraming salamat po. Watch out for our first anniversary edition next Monday. Thank you.